Welcome, good evening everyone. We're finally going to start, and maybe we've got another 3 more people arriving late, but never mind. They won't miss out on a lot. It will be just a couple of minutes worth of introduction, and then we'll get right into it. And if they do miss the beginning of it, or the middle or the end of it, I'm sure they can tune in on live to Mapa's network live stream, which I believe that it's also been live as well. But I do welcome you all, our Samoan family here, as well as our Tongan community leaders. We also have our Samoan community leaders here as well. And brothers and sisters, we're joining us this evening for the presentation of our famous Silver Fern Farms Limited, which will be presented by Ellen and Silva later on. But before we continue on, I'd like to kindly ask one of our Tongan community leaders, Reverend David Afinau, to kindly open up a prayer for us, and then we will continue on from there. Mapa.
Let us pray. Loving God, we thank you for the blessing of bringing us together this evening. We pray is the Spirit over the void and the chaos the creation came into being. That is our prayer, asking your Spirit to hover over us, that we will build fruits that will help our families and our community. In Jesus Christ, our Lord.
Thank you, Reverend. Okay. So everyone, as you all know, Silver Fern Farms Limited is a multinational meat company here in New Zealand. And it is also worldwide as well, but they are based here in New Zealand. Already in the heart of the Silver Fern Farms business, passionate staff, they also have a great management team, which they offer a range of diverse career paths within their members, opportunities and support to everyone who works with them. Silver Fern Farms is a huge company and is also a great asset to the New Zealand economy, with millions worth of exported products all over the world. A koe o ku kei whimao ke hangawe anga, koe lawa mai koni ai pule lai au pito. Ang tokoni, koe whimao hakau ngā aue, ke ngā aue ai kautahalahi koe ni. Pea koe kautahalahi koe ni, ai kua tolu te kia ke mō lawe i te kautaha koe ni. O ki nau tolu o nau hanga koe ni o tufaki atu ai mai miti ke ke. All products ke ngahi supermarket koe ni o lawa atu koe ni o whakatau koe ni ai. Ai ko nau tolu, kautahawahi ia, o kuna o ku iai ngahi kuwhanga whakatau pute ngā koe ai lea mai no. Ai kalas mamu ke ke koni o tau, mau mea tu koni kuni ai. E ke ko te whakalau atu, nā whaiwhai kuwhanga e au whakasisi. Ka koe ngahi products ko toa ko ia tu whakake ngai supermarket. Ka pau te mō mea atu o siwe ngahi lei polo ko ia, asne nei te ai Silver Fern Farms Limited. Now, they're all over in Usilani pe. Ka koe tau mua ia e lawa mai o ta mai koe koe ni, ai pure koe ni ko Ellen Poi, ka maa Silva Bailey, ke whai ha tu ua ke kautaha, koe whea mao kau ngā aue. A koe koe ni ko pāhia koe ni he ngā aue, he ngā aue koe ni ngā aue anga o ke ia he taimini, nau ka whai mamari e to change your career, ki ha ngā aue ta. O tātai taha whoki ke lawa atu hakau pūle pe ko hakau management team o hau tonu ki haloto whare o hatu uake nau ngā anga koe whē mau hakau ngā aue. Ka ko hiu tau poloa ia e ngai community island i he ngai ahoni. Ko ni ko hau tonu mai ai tama pūle lahi koe kau taha ka maa Silva Bailey koe whē to koni o hau tonu mai ka ki tau tonu. Kau sai pe e toki lawa pe a Silva ka maa Ellen Kiai. A koe whiunga o ngā wei tuko lawe i pē koe koe tei afu wenia. Pea koe ngā wei tu afu. Pero ngā ua ni tai he whaitau momo kōku momo. Nā kua whainga maari en, koe hao ngā tōntu i hao tamai koe ki koe ni. Ki hamo whārea totonu, ki hamo paipa koe ni. Kai ki ini lewa koe ki kautaha. Kai ke ka ngā whawhea loa ki atu, I'd like to introduce Alan Poi. Alan Poi is one of the owners of the company, and he's accompanied by Silver Payne, which he will go into more details of what they have to offer, and if we have any questions later on, then we will take them as we go. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stephen. Good evening, Maluele and Talofa, and also welcome to the people that are sitting at home watching the live stream. Hopefully there's many of them as well, but thank you for coming along this evening. Before I get into sort of talking about the company and the opportunity that we've got available, I do just want to acknowledge the tragedy that's happened in Tonga. We have many Tongan staff at our processing sites who have obviously family at home, so we're praying along with them that everyone is safe and that damage isn't that bad that we can't help resurrect what's happened. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the Tongan families who are involved in our company. So Silver Fern Farms, Stephen introduced us. We are New Zealand's largest red meat processing company. So despite the fact we've got farms in our names, we don't actually own any farms, but we have 14 processing sites. And you might know them as freezing works. We're trying to get away from the old freezing works term, because what we produce is food, and it's food that you and I eat and food that people all around the world eat. So we're a food processing company. We are owned in New Zealand and also owned in China. And we have around about 7,000 employees across New Zealand. So far and away the biggest company. But the fact that we're the biggest doesn't mean that everyone's just a number, okay? We've got 14 processing plants, and every single person in those plants is important to us. It's important, what their life is outside of work to us as well as in work as well. So we really try and care about our people. We export to over 60 countries. So 7,000 people produce meat all year round that we ship to over 60 countries around the world. We have about 16,000 farmer suppliers. So like the other meat companies, we go out and try and secure beef or sheep or lamb or venison, and they come into our plants and we process them, break them down into cuts, and then send them off overseas. About probably 95% of our meat goes overseas, including to the islands, and there's about 5% that you see in the supermarkets under our Silver Fern Farms brand. Like many, just about everyone that I talk to, we're short of staff. Every year it seems to be getting harder and harder, and with the onset of COVID last year, that's just made it even more difficult for us, because with the borders closed, we don't have the people coming into New Zealand that we rely on, and they include backpackers or travellers, but also people from the Pacific Islands who come over, work for us for 8 to 10 months, then go home for a couple of months and then come back again, and that's brilliant. They're fantastic workers, and we really missed not having them. So with the borders shut, it means that we have been 500, 600 people short across our 14 processing plants, so that's a lot of people to follow. So because of that, we're having to think differently, we're having to try and recruit differently, we're having to offer different incentives to people to come and work for us, and that's the reason that I'm talking to you tonight around the offering that we have for people here in Auckland, and not necessarily just Auckland. It could be Wellington or Hamilton. If there's people watching that have family in one of the main centres that want to get out of the main centre or work somewhere else, then that opportunity exists for them as well. But talking with you people tonight, what we've come up with is a fly-in, fly-out opportunity. So in the mining industry in Australia, that's done all the time. People will live in a big city, they'll fly away out to the middle of Australia, do their work for a period of time, fly home for a break, and just keep doing that. It's something that's never been done in the meat industry, but as I said, because we're so short of staff, then we have to think differently. So the opportunity that I'm presenting tonight is for people here in Auckland who are maybe, sick of Auckland, sick of the traffic, sick of the waits on the motorway, sick of the price and the cost of living in Auckland, maybe even in a job that's only paying the minimum wage. What we can offer is to fly you to one of our sites, have you work for a period of time, and it might be, say, 4 weeks, and then come home for a week's rest and holiday, and continue to do that throughout the season. We have 2 big plants in the South Island, and I'll just bring up where they are. My typing with one hand is not very good. There we go. So that's a map of all 14 of our plants, and as you can see, we're spread from the very far north, Dargaville, all the way down to Invercargill. The 2 plants that we're particularly trying to staff up is our large plant in Finnegan, which is in Balclutha, and also our large plant in Timaru, which is in South Canterbury. So both of those plants, the Finnegan plant is our biggest plant. They have about 1,200 to 1,300 staff, and our Pariora plant in Timaru has around about 1,000 staff. Both of those plants do beef and sheep, so that means that the season runs almost all year. The sheep start sort of late in the year, early in the season, from sort of October, and then once the sheep start to sort of peter out, the beef kicks in, and that carries on through the winter months. So the work is right throughout the year. For those of you that haven't seen way down south, I'm from Invercargill, which is way down the bottom here. So I know Balclutha fairly well, which is way down the bottom there as well. Population of 4,000, so not very big. Probably as big as one of your small suburbs here in Auckland. But Timaru is a bit bigger. About 30,000 people live in Timaru. And when I was a kid, I used to go holidaying in Timaru. It's a lovely spot. Close to Balclutha is Dunedin, which is about an hour from Balclutha. And Dunedin has about 130,000 people, and a lovely, lovely city, very Scottish, with some lovely buildings. So the opportunities are sort of, I guess, at all of our plants. So if anyone specifically wanted to go to one of the other plants, we could certainly look at that. But we really ideally would like to send people to our Balclutha plant or our Timaru plant. Now what we offer is accommodation at those sites. So you wouldn't need to find accommodation. We have accommodation available. You would just pay a small weekly rent, I suppose, to stay in that accommodation. If you didn't want to live in Balclutha, if you preferred to stay in Dunedin, we run buses from Dunedin to the workplace every day. We have 3 buses running from Dunedin back and forth. So if a wee town of 4,000 was too small for you, and you wanted to stay in Dunedin, then we can accommodate you getting to work and back. But it does add an hour each way. In Timaru, the plant is only sort of right on the edge of Timaru, so it's 10 minutes away. So the accommodation would be in Timaru, which is, as I say, about 30,000 people. They say the further south of New Zealand you go, the friendlier the people, and I guess I have to vouch for that because I'm from the very, very bottom. But I can assure you that the people in these two cities are wonderful. It is a lot slower than Auckland, obviously. There's much less traffic, much less people. Prices are cheaper, houses are cheaper. We have had some people move or start doing a fly-in, fly-out from Auckland, and before too long have decided to relocate their families because they enjoy the slower pace so much. And if you did want to ultimately relocate, we can help you with the relocation expenses to get your family and your belongings down south and help you find a home. So, you know, we're really trying our best to encourage people to make the move. Initially, it might be in that fly-in, fly-out opportunity. So you might work 4 weeks and then come home for a week. And after you've done that for a wee while, you might decide, I actually like where I'm going for work, and I think it'll be good for my family, for my kids. Fantastic places to bring kids up, safe. Timaru is right on the coast. Caroline Bay is a beautiful little beach. So it's those sorts of things that are really attractive about the little towns. The shifts, the plants do run a day and an evening shift. So day shift runs from about 6 in the morning till about 2:30 in the afternoon. But most of the work for new people is on the afternoon shift, and that's from around about 3:30 to 12:30. So it's not a night shift where you get home at 5 in the morning. It's what we call an evening shift, which is fairly reasonable. A lot of people really love doing the evening shift because they don't have to get to work till sort of 2:30, maybe 3 o'clock, pushing it close, which means they've got a good part of the day to do whatever they want to do, either at home or in town, or whatever it might be with the kids. So that afternoon shift is the one that we focus on generally with new people. But if people really wanted to do the day shift, then I'm sure we can accommodate that as well. What else? I don't want to give you that much information that you forget it or you're unsure, but I want to give you enough that you understand the opportunity. The types of jobs that you would do when you first start out in the role, very basic, easy jobs. It might be putting meat in a bag, it might be putting bagged meat in a carton, it might be trimming carcasses, trimming fat off carcasses, the sorts of jobs that you would learn in a week, okay? The starting rate for those jobs, as soon as you walk in the door, is $24 an hour. But very quickly, if you show good attendance and you're keen, then we, because we're so short, we very quickly upgrade people into slightly more skilled jobs, which we call sort of B-grade jobs, and they can be $26, $27, $28 an hour. If you're really keen and you want to do an A-grade job, which is butchery jobs or boning jobs, then those jobs range from $30 to $40 an hour. So Stephen mentioned the career progression. So it's not just about coming in, starting at that job, getting bored, staying on that job until you retire. It's about putting your hand up and saying, yep, that was fine, but I'm ready to take the next step, and I'm ready to take the step after that. So there's wonderful career opportunities. I actually started in 1986 at the Mapa Freezing Works at Invercargill. I was on the gut trays, which is about the scungiest job you could probably do. And eventually over time I made my way sort of through supervisory jobs, and for a couple of years, not long ago, I was the plant manager at the Takapo plant, which is 1,000 people. So there's opportunity to go as far as you want to go. There's also opportunity to get into other parts of the business. It might be health and safety, it might be quality, obviously leadership. Obviously we're a big company, we're a global company. Our turnover each year is around $2.5 billion. So we've got sales, we've got marketing, we've got HR, we've got all of those sorts of things. So it doesn't just stop at the job that you take up when you first join us. I want to play you a video that we did last year, which helps to show the sorts of jobs that you might do starting off. We put it together for all the new people that come on site and have a look, so we'll play that now. Welcome to Fern Farms, where every day we come together to deliver the world's most sustainable, grass-fed red meat to our customers around the world. I started working inside the plant as a new process worker, and now my job is to help recruit people like you right across New Zealand to start their careers in the meat industry. This video will show you what it's like to work in a plant, what roles you might be working in, and what job opportunities there are to progress into. Everyone in the Fern Farms family across New Zealand plays an important role. First up is what you wear into the processing plant, as that's important. You arrive to work in your civvies, your regular clothes. We provide you with whites, hair nets, bed nets and boots. We then provide you with the personal protective equipment, or PPE. These items are important to make sure that we maintain the highest levels of food safety and quality, but equally to keep you safe. At a processing plant, there are different areas of production with entry roles in each area. I'll run through the main ones with you now. In primary butchery, we separate the skin or pelt from the animal and remove the internal organs, getting the carcass ready for chilling and then further processing. Here you might be doing the following roles: internal product separation and distribution. This involves separating the various internal organs and placing them down chutes or into trolleys so that they can be sorted, trimmed if required, packed and sent for chilling or freezing. The hock removal role involves removing the tendon and then removing the hocks with an air-driven chopper. Internal products trimming. A number of the internal products need to be trimmed up to meet specifications. Beef blood processing. This role involves capturing blood from the animal and transporting that blood into a pack-off room. You may be required to clean the blood capture items and buckets regularly to ensure there is no contamination. Fat sucking is a job which involves the use of a nozzle to remove fat from within the body of the carcass, which also helps us meet our yield targets. Sweeping the floors. We do this to ensure any fat, meat and blood is cleaned up quickly to avoid anyone slipping and potentially injuring themselves. Secondary butchery is where chilled carcasses are further processed and the primal cuts of meat are trimmed and often cut up further into smaller, value-added cuts, prior to them being packed, cartoned, labelled and then chilled or frozen. The roles you might be doing in secondary butchery are trimming cuts. This involves removing excess fat, bruises or any contamination to ensure the final product meets the product specification as set down by the customer or food safety regulations. Whisk knife work, which involves using a whisk knife on the bones to ensure we remove all the meat we can to meet our yield targets. Mechanical skinning. In the beef plants, we skin primal cuts by running the cuts across a mechanical skinning blade, which takes off fat and membrane quickly. Packing of cuts. This involves placing cuts of meat into bags or wrapping them, and then packing those cuts into cartons prior to the cartons being labelled and sent away for chilling or freezing. Labelling is a role which involves ensuring that the correct label goes on the right packaged cut of meat or on the carton it's being packed into. Out in the cold chain dispatch area, we also have new starters involved with racking down cartons and loading containers with chilled or frozen cartons or frozen carcasses. Racking down involves taking frozen cartons on metal racks and placing them onto pallets to go into storage. Loading containers involves filling them up with chilled or frozen cartons or frozen carcasses. The containers are then transported to a local port and shipped to one of over 60 countries that Fern Farms services. If you're reliable, safety conscious and willing to listen and learn, there are lots of opportunities to progress.
I've been here for 45 years. I started as a trimmer and now I'm the plant manager here.
I started 14 years ago as a packer and now I am a streamline facilitator.
I started here nearly 23 years ago as a packer in secondary and have progressed from QA to group leader in internal products.
I first started out in the pawn room at one of our lamb farms and I have now progressed to become the streamline facilitator here.
Here at Fern Farms, you'll get to work in an environment where you'll be valued, where you'll make great mates who'll look after you, have the potential to make a career if you want, and be paid well for the work you do. Thanks for watching, and welcome to the team. All right. Yep, let's go. There might be some questions come out of that, but just before we get on to that, so just a couple of things to note. So all of the gear that people had on all gets provided. So that doesn't cost you anything, you don't have to bring anything except your lunch. And we have canteens, so you can buy that there as well. But all of the gear, gumboots, all the metal, mesh, protective equipment, that's all supplied, okay? So I want to make that point. A few of the people at the end there, just highlighting the careers that they've been able to build from starting off, you know, in those entry-level roles. And we've just got loads and loads of those stories, which are really, really cool. We try and promote from within, so we try and build people up to move up into leadership roles and other roles. So are there any questions from the video or anything that I've talked about that people would like an answer to that you're unsure? Anyone at home?
I think it's pretty clear what's required to be part of it, this company. I'm afraid I can't, or I can go home with all this information. So, yeah, a few young couples, they can see female and males are both can work at the same time.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, this is a fantastic opportunity for everyone, but you know, particularly a young couple who may or may not have kids yet. If both of them want to come and work for us, absolutely, we'll put them both into work, and they can both travel down and travel back and earn good money. You know, bank sort of $800,000 a week sort of thing. All the overtime that we do. So at the moment we're very, very busy. So through the summer months and as the beef comes on, we do a lot of overtime. All the overtime is paid at time and a half, and some plants even have some double time on Sundays. So if you're doing a Saturday morning, which we do probably, each plant would do 10 to 15 Saturday mornings as well, for 4 hours. That's paid at time and a half, or double time. So that makes the $24, $36.
Doesn't require experience, right?
No, absolutely not. I mean, if there's experienced people out there, we'll take them as well. But we don't need anyone to know anything about what we do. We just need people to be willing to listen and learn, because you've got to remember we're producing food that people have got to eat. So you know what you want from people that make the food we eat. So we're the same. It's got to be clean, it's got to be wholesome, it's got to be free of contamination, it's got to be handled well. So we just need people to be conscientious about that. The other big point that's important is that we want people to be safe. So we provide all that gear so that people are safe, so they don't cut themselves, they don't cut someone else, which can happen. We have virtually no cuts anymore, believe it or not, because of the gear we use. So we just need people to be conscious about being safe. So they go home in exactly the same way that they turned up.
And the airfare?
The airfare will be paid by the company. So we will fly you down and we will fly you back. Just when you're down working, we just need you to turn up each day that, you know, we need you there for work. you know, what we've done with some people is they've worked 4 weeks, so they'll work Monday to Friday and maybe Saturday morning. They'll just stay in the accommodation for the rest of the weekend, then work the next week. Do that for 4 weeks, and then we'll fly them home. They'll have a week at home, either back with their family, or they don't have to go home if they don't want to. If they want to carry on working, that's fine. But if they want to come home, they'll come home for a week, have a rest, come back down again and do it again.
So how soon,
Sorry?
So how soon they can be part of this?
As soon as we can get them interviewed and through a medical and get them down to the plant, really. So what's required, if you're interested, I have got some application forms here if you want to take them away and fill them in. Equally, you can go to our careers website, which is careers.silverfernfarms.com, so it's a pretty simple one, and look for the fly-in, fly-out jobs. There's 2 jobs in there, fly in, fly out for Finnegan, fly in, fly out for Pariora. Okay, that's the name of the 2 plants, Finnegan being Belplutha, Pariora being Timaru. So go on the website if you're interested, you can apply through that. You can take one of these away and you can then email it to me. If you take one away, I'll write my email on the top. Once we've got that information in, have a bit of a look at what you've done. We'll do an interview online, virtually, have a talk to you about a bit more about the job, find out what you're doing, and then go from there. It will involve a medical to make sure that you're reasonably fit. It will involve drug testing, which everyone does these days. It's only saliva testing, so it's not too intrusive. And providing all of that's good, people can get started.
Will it also apply to statuses of residency?
Yeah, it's if you're a New Zealand citizen or a resident, it makes it very easy. If you have a visa, that makes it a little bit more tricky, but we can talk to you about changing your visa to us. So you might have a visa that's specifically to an employer, because that's what you came into the country on, or that's what you've got. We could talk about trying to change that visa to Silverfern Farms.
So my next question, I'm sorry, Alan, a lot of them that are probably watching, and I know a handful of people that have been stuck here since the COVID from last year's fall election.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the statuses have been right at level 0. They're doing bits and pieces of jobs here and there, but their statuses are due to go back.
They can't get back. Yeah.
If they do want to apply, would there be any chances of them getting any jobs or any work visas applications?
Look, we can talk to them about it. I mean, without knowing specifics around every individual's case, we've got people that are working for us now that are due to go home, that want to go home, but we can't get them home at the moment. So I completely understand the situation. We're happy to talk to anyone that's got visa issues or that sort of problem, and see if we can help out. I'm not saying we'll be able to help everyone out, but we're happy to talk about it.
Say I was here on a business visa.
Yep.
Please offer job.
Yes, so we can, if we offer you a job, you can use that to then apply for a work visa, and we can help you fill that out. But it would still be your application, but we'll give you all the documentation that we can to help that process through.
Thanks. I'm from the education side of things, and I'm just looking at transitioning those who have finished school and pretty much not going to uni,
yep.
Wanting to get contracts to play rugby and all of this stuff, but how are we going to bridge that, that gap there? Because I know there's a lot of people here in Auckland who are at that crossroads where they're too late to apply to go to university, or they're too late to enter into job. But seeing this here, the presentation itself, man, it's eye-catching, and it's also it's encouraging to see young people that are on the video, yep. Not just older couples, but also you can see some young 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds there. just thinking outside the square sort of thing, what are the possibilities? I know, you know, you guys might have short time frames with school leavers who've left last year or the year before, you know, maybe having some sort of I don't know, another presentation like this, you know, because at the moment, there are, you know, people sitting here looking for better jobs, but there's a massive group who have no jobs.
Yes.
You know, and that there is the challenging part for, especially in the education and moving in towards, you know, with wins and all of that stuff. It's that area where they just kind of settle for doing nothing, but when they see something like this and actually go, they fly in, fly out, that's enticing. That's kind of like, oh yeah, I can just go in there, do my bit, and come back, still enjoy Auckland.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely. To take that back a step, so we're trying really hard in where we have all of our sites to get into the local high schools towards the end of the year to talk to the kids that are going to be leaving the gateway programs. We know that there's only about 30% of kids go on to tertiary education, so there's a big group that we really want to try and get in front of. If you can round them up into a group, I'll come and talk to them. Absolutely, no problem. And we've got an ageing workforce in our industry. You know, back in the day in the 70s, it was the place to be. A lot of those sort of guys and ladies are now starting to exit the industry. So we need young people coming through. And yep, there's lots of young people, guys like this, strapping young guys who could very quickly become A-graders and earn $35, $40 an hour. I'll tell you a story. So in the last month, we've been able to bring in some Cook Island people, obviously because they're New Zealand citizens, so it's been easy, sort of. But one of the young guys, he's only in his mid-20s, so he started about 10 days before Christmas. I was with him on Saturday having lunch, and he said, I just got signed off as an A-grade gutter. So in that space of time, he's gone straight to A-grade, and he'll now earn $30 an hour. He's keen, he's willing to learn, enthusiastic. He can't tell enough people how good the work is back at home to get them to come over and be with him. So loads of that sort of opportunity. So please, by all means, if you can get a group, I know it's hard to tap into them now because they're sort of scattered, but if we can find a way, absolutely.
Question just about these people being away from like their families and homes.
Yep.
What does your company do to support their well-being?
Yep. So we have so in the what we call the people space or the HR space. So we've introduced a new role on all of the sites, which is a people and capability manager. We've introduced at some of the sites who didn't have them a dedicated employment coordinator. And we've also introduced at some of the sites a pastoral care role. So we acknowledge particularly, we have a program that's very similar to the RSE horticulture program. It's called our AIP. So we have 400 Samoan and Tongan guys come back and forth each year, usually. But because they've been stuck here by COVID, you know, they haven't been home for 2 years. So we've tried our best to look after those guys. If at any point in time where there's been no work for them and they've been seasonally laid off, we've continued to pay them so that they can cover all their expenses and have money until they can get back into work. At Christmas time, we sent all of their families at home meet on behalf of us to say thank you for sharing your family with us. We have the pastoral care role, who's a big part of their role is to look after that group. So we acknowledge that it's been very, very difficult for those people. And they're fantastic workers. They work every hour that you ask them to. In fact, sometimes we've got to tell them to stop working because they've worked too much. If we could have, you know, more of them, we'd be just over the moon.
Is there an opportunity for overstayers? Would you actually consider taking them on board? So that's sort of different from what Stephen mentioned about those that are not being here due to COVID. So there's an extension because of due to that circumstances. But what about some of the overstayers that are here that I know a lot that are dying to work and they may qualify within what we're looking for per employee? Is your company willing to actually look at them?
Yes, Saliba and I have had this conversation a few times. Personally, I would take the whole lot of them and start them tomorrow. Unfortunately, we have some very, very big customers, the likes of McDonald's that we supply globally, some of the big UK supermarket chains like Asda and Marks & Spencer. They actually ask us for proof that people are eligible to work. And unfortunately with overstayers, there's no proof that they're eligible to work. So we would run the risk of losing those major customers if we took those people on. So yeah, if it was up to me, I would, but unfortunately there's some rules that govern how we have to operate. So at this stage we wouldn't be able to.
Are these seasonal work? Is there a season or is it round?
Yeah, traditionally going back years ago, you know, the season might be 6 months long and then you're 6 months looking for other work. Now it's closer to 10 months of work. So it might be 8, 9, 10, depends on the year and the weather and all sorts of things that are happening. But because we're so short these days, we're finding that people that come on as new starters actually end up working almost all year anyway. But the fly in, fly out, if it was, say, a normal year, you would get 9 to 10 months work. You would come home, I guess, for 2 months to probably rest up because you'd be pretty sore and tired, and then we would have you back. So you don't have to reapply. We would just say, you know, John, you're ready to start on the 1st of October? Yep, cool, you're in. So once you're in, you just continue to work, but there might be a period of time where, which we call the off season, where you get to have a bit of a break, which some people enjoy. All right, well, thank you very much. That's pretty much, I think, as much information that gives you a flavour for what we're talking about without letting you get too much. Obviously, Saliba knows a lot about us. I'm also available. Saliba's got my phone number, so if any of you, want to give me a ring, I've got a few cards there, but not many. If you want to give me a ring and you've got questions, please do so. As I said, there's applications here if you want to take them away, or go online to careers.silverfernfarms.com and you will find the 2 jobs that I'm talking about available there. There are all the other jobs that we've got going there as well, of course. So if you actually really wanted to say, sick of Auckland, I'm going to move somewhere, there's lots of other opportunities at our other plants. I live in Hawke's Bay now, awesome part of the country. There's jobs available there as well. Dargaville, pretty much anywhere we've got a plant, we need people. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate your attention and your questions, which is great because it'll be something went in and I got something across, which is really cool. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing from hopefully all of you. So.
Thank you, Alan. Obviously, this beginning of this week was a tough one. So I'd like to acknowledge our family, our people back in Tonga. So our prayers and our thoughts are with you. So hopefully the communication will be back on back to normal. So we don't know how much damage they can cover. So really admire the government of New Zealand to jump in and try to help. Beginning of this scheme, I was in Tonga most of last year, and Ellen and one of the
top managers of Silverfield Farm, they called me to set up a Zoom meeting. And we started talking about this last April. And I say, I'm heading back to New Zealand in May. So at the time, it was very wealthy and flexible situation. Because I help bringing 14 workers from Tonga for this company. And these 14, 6 of them, they are very rugby talented players, and 8 they are workers. So this group, they came in and did a very good job for this company. And also very moved hearing defendants back in Tonga, how excited seeing this group keep sending a lot of money to help them Tonga. So when Ellen and Beth called, I said, I'm heading back to New Zealand today. So this plan was very well organized. And then COVID-19 came along and sort of wiped our thing. So the government moved the country to level 4 and no meeting whatsoever. So I rely a lot on our top leaders, church ministers, obviously Reverend David and a lot of people were here. So I relied a lot on them. But in the last few weeks, things were changing. So luckily, I say to Ellen, we have to make use of the technology. We have to send the message back home. Because I remember every Sunday my mom watching the Zoom live church services. I say to myself, we can do the same and send the message to all the Tongans back home. So I encourage to you who watch from home, this is a better opportunity. It's very easy way to save money, especially with accommodation. It's a lot cheaper back there. The rates of starting rates, it's about the same here in Auckland, but you can save a lot of money. So it's a good starting, and a lot of them will, but 2 to 3 years, they will save quite a bit, enough to deposit a house here. So I always encourage the future. As I always say, one of my close friends, Inga Mapa, Inga grew up in Makako. He was 4 when he arrived in the country. And now Inga was one of the very first Polynesians to make the All Blacks, same as Malini now. But they all grew up in a small town. So it's the quality to be successful in this small town. So I encourage people at home or people here to think hard of relocating to, yeah, maybe it's a slow lifestyles, but it's good when you have kids. The things my brother here, thank you so much for reaching out to the Samoan communities. And like I said, Silverfield Farm is too big for just for Tongans. So we did Samoans and also the CEO of Vanuatu is here. So we are looking at the Vanuatu communities. Because it's quite a big high demand for workers. So, and over here, it's quite impressed how the video, and I've noticed all these people who made up the company. None of them are Tongan or Samoans. So maybe this young group here will be the first one to make up all the way up to the top in this company. So we never know. Well, I did the Famalola. Did the final, first got the final and the Famalola. Una, Kafus, Tukai, Mai, Fatang, Korea, Rumalahi, Mobilo, Mamuria, Lava Pump, Kakahu, I was spending don't know. Bạn á, ta coi bọn của ngào ấy, ta coi ao lại của còn bây giờ kiểu luôn mà có phố của cái phố cái điều là luôn vào và con nào là gì các cái thằng này tao quan vì làm lên đây có cái gì người bạn là có khu bên nào bạn là có con làm mấy cái gì lên đây là tuy người con anh được tuy người Mapa là cái áo để đây hết con là hiện áo là cái gì rồi lúc đó người ta được tung phát thì con là hiện còn các bạn á đi áo đó để cái là bạn và con tuy ở ngoài Mapa là cái áo để đây hết thì saya yang nasiasi, lah saya lah dari nasiasi, itu tak dari tahu. Về cách phải ngata anh yang ada bui, ngau ya COVID-19, video mau ke yang này kamu vào, cái mà ta nói của Ellen là nếu cái phải Ellen để làm là từ tổ lôi thì người xung quanh cái tổ nào mà ta cái Ellen cái làm tổ lôi người ta làm tổ lôi vậy để tàu phải cả phải ngay livestream thì mình cái làm cái gì bây giờ bây giờ phòng bao lâu là Mapa Media Network toàn là một Mapa có được phạm ban này quảng giao về cái phí, rồi người ta nó phòng mình ta mấy phải ai biết mà nó cái phổ mấy cái phí nào,
Make it more, big company.
mà rồi cái đó là I'd like to acknowledge the guy for inviting me to be on the show this morning. It's a wonderful way to meet Talanoa alive. So we would like to keep the relationship because I know this project is it's huge and we need all the resources. Thank you. Malwe de Allah de fakatag yan na fakako fufian ma o dito na ma ma agon koy ufa o fi ma na to ma to ya o fu ay fufian ma o to to ko kete faka vai Korea tu o motor go si man mungkin apa dia kita tahu live stream, tu fengah balik dari ini, batu be Mapa figure kaki, kata be dia o Ellen, ya itu aku dia be mau, fagek, kamu figure kaki, aku nak kondi ko full masuk film, aku nak pen full mau, tapi ko film lah, film mau ni, kata aku tu nak pakai tu. Lah yang itu di Middle East atau Amerika, tetapi mau UK mau Europe. Kalau ini kalau mengatakan kualitas juga tak tahan, kalau dia film awal, Piti kau tak. Akai dia kau ngau, dia kau tak. Kau dia kau tu kau tahu ada orang ni memang program mau kau dia kasih tahu. Mak kau bila kau masuk lah di kau ngau. Dia ngau phải ngau. Kau firma ke ngau yang tadi kau tu ke firma ke faham. Di kau apa pun kita tahu. Kaya kalau lah ya, dia juga kena program apa, kita semua kalau dia kena tu, kau dia kasih tahu. Mereka di, kalau kita ada nak kau ni baik pun, buat kolej. Kaya wife faham, lawat thing about it, that I'll see you go half and to what we talk. Before I closing up, I'd like to say my business partners, Greg Henry and Glenn Smith, we are thinking of doing something to help Thomas. So maybe I'd like to ask you if we set up something that we really need your help. We really need your help. Kaya way for up there about for untuk mahal kaya tokon di file tong na tokon dia tahu pakai itu siapa itu offer. Helen, thank you very much for having your faith in me. We're coming a long way, and I'm certainly keen to still do anything to help out. Because I know it's a win-win situation for everyone. Good for the company, good for the New Zealand country, and good for workers, and good for Tonga and Samoa. So thank you so much for having faith. I'm not working for Zero Farms. It's all the word of mouth. I've been involved with the All Blacks a lot, and behind the scene. And what Zero Farm managers found out ahead of me, so they asked me to, maybe help with recruitment. So the fortune that I got from Tonga, I say that I'm really happy with the performance. So we'll keep doing the same thing and see New Zealand still the best meat producers in the world. We have MC, kita ada tukang ya, kau kalau kan motor usia menteri kaya ni, faham dia kita tahu film lagi, macam mana,
Thank you, Siliva, and Ellen, thank you also for offering these great opportunities in the workforce, but in the meat industry. And I'm sure, so straight after this presentation, all these community leaders here will go back and recruit. So have your phone handy until midnight tonight. I'm sure you'll be getting phone calls. Modal mo me amai ke televisor ke tau program live ko ngai me ko ne lawe ko nga Ellen mo Siliva ko ngai hangi ko me na lawe ke den nai tau monu ia na tonu mai ko tau to fare o fai ai offer ko ni ko fu ka ta ha hin na to tong ke na no pe na to ria ko I puti pe ko ta action se ka ko hi o fufe mai ka ngau ko na wa ton ba ya ko pe mo ke tau ki fakai ya meat industry na ko tai pe ki li o profession ke ki au ri fo pingo o toketa o ai hosi e ka hosi pe ta ma tu pe ko ni ko na ba ka mo ta ke te ko ni ki mo tu o tu a fa fa hosi o tu ko la hi tau ke ko ba o e ta mai wai ki ko ndi ma fo pe ba ba ma fa le ni koi ai kai na tonga, koi no u fe ma ngawe, ta monu ia ko ma tol ma Ellen ka ma silima. Fe ma ngawe, ko na fika telefon fe tu taki, mo fe tu tak mai pe ki a silima. Ko ne fika telefoni ele, ko no wataha, hiwa wa nima, fitu no nima. No wataha, hiwa wa nima, fitu no nima. Pero mo fe tu tak pe ke pe si website ko ni ai Silver Fern Farms of aspe of yai click on careers. Ya hanga ton le vai ki Ellen na mo fe tu tak ka o ko le atu. Mo fe tu tak me ko tau tamano tu ko na tau va mo fe tu tak mai ki ai. O na fe tu tak mai ha ki au. E te ki ha ki tau ngau I loto hala. Tau fe tu tak pe ki mai fe telefon mo ko sa tu ka a website. A website na Silver Fern Farms e ma ki ai nai fai ki. Oh, any more questions? No. Okay. Malo opit. Kadaki. Ai fai ficau. Haloto moritika. Kake angalele mo fa ta loto fa os. Ta pa ki gotoa. Ma mo ma to ko ni batau. Ma to ko ni. Malo opito.
Kamalo ke tu kamalo mole ake ki fotu Mapa ni fotu la ki te lele mai ki fikau ya ki ta mo ko be ki fikau fe ta u lo tua mas mau fa fita ya Fiona la koloa ko fai e ko mau e koe o ku ko pe mas ya Fiona leo mo e fe kuki mo ngai fai ngata ka maongona e fai ngata au se hangai mo mau ki fonua o fa nga to ke yala mai peto kuku mafia Fiona ke fai o mau malu I ke fai o mau tau I ko e fai nga mari e ko frawa mai e kautaha koeni I he sikai nga ka mehe o motu maulot pe o tua ke tāpua ule ngā we are e ka siliva me koko fai kono whakawa mamai I he singai whamili me kakai tonga kakai ngā moa ka inga mehe o motu ke whai ngā maari mole ke mama o ke mau whinga ke mau millionaire. Kako whai ngā maari o whina ngaro pe a Fiona ia ke whai ngā maari e si ngai whamili whakalaka e nofo I he society ka koe ni ko whakawa mai whai ngā maari e koe o mauroto e o tua ke whai tāpue kina kau tā koe te whakalotoa a kinau tolu o ku mau e whai ngā maari e ki ngā ue ke nau puke whai ngā maari e koe. E whakawhai ngā maari e ngai whatongia ke whamili. Hange koe tala noa si iau atuai o wha ke ngai whamili ki tonga, ki haa moa, ke ngai otu motu e Pasifiki, e o nau si nofo whai ngā tā ia. O mautolu I whanuani mo ngai whai ngā maari e koe ni, tuku moa ke mau e whai ngā maari e koe ia whai nasi aku. Ya la vea e si ngai whai ngā whamili ka pei motu. Tā pāk mai e si kautaki o ngai community, si kai ngā mei Hamoa, si kai ngā mei he otu motu Pasifiki, tangatai whai kausia maroro, mo nau tolu nau lama mai e whiawhini, mau hapai at peke a Fiona ki whai o mau tā ke kin. Whamonuia mai ngā ngāu e katoa peo ku whai. Kai ke fie whakangalo e mau lotu, tamatui bogono kau mai ka hine kuini na naspau fare ha mo off fare mia kau mai kau minista fare alea kau takilot kau mai singa family
Koe mau no fō koe whio whākia kakao. O ko haa tu ho mau loto, koe kai lawa whetu taki. Kai ke lawa tala noa, koe ke mau lawe ik mau tolu koe hamea koko, ki o mau ngai whamiri. Kai whawhetai koe a whiona u tokai mānanga. Whiona u ke whai o mau maru i, whai o mau tauhi. Koe haa whekau e tsunami ka te mau toru, ke mau toi hanga pe ke a whiona. Mai ke mau tanga ke haka mau mata ke ngahi mo ngā koe au hau mea i o mau toko. Mau toko ni o mea siowa, koe nane ngā he langi mo mamai. Tā wāki mai a whio ya ngāni, whamonu ia mai e langa ngāu e kwhai, tau maringi mai e ngahi monu me ngahi tā wāki. Wāki atu mau ngahi mo wini, ke mea ngāu e kei pe i rolo tongani, pe a whai peo lau i kuonga. Ka koe kileso tau eiki, me o whai o tua, Feo e lau maari maa ni e nofo ia ho alofa i feo ia ngani, kau tā koe, kau tā. O mau tōru ko tō pepe a whai pētai ngata. Amen. Alofi.
Ka more kai ngā tonga, ko lawa e tau keresi. Ka kuhina u, ke kua manaki te tui whahare whawā opa ne nai. Ka kuhi koe maho inga koni o mo mea mai, o mo tolu he live stream. Ko loto peke koe ki mi te taha koe ni, pa more ke whakapipiki atu ia, ke tau keresi. Ke na au whakataha pe tau mātuku wake, koe mea maho inga ia. Ko hino whutokanga ane nai ke whaarere ma whaare hosi ka i utui, ke ngā oe ke whakamatala ate mea koe. Na e lawa kia Ellen ane nai, ai mo tolu koe nuk whimau ngā oe, o ki kai ki a ngā oe ni o kalani. Ko lawe te māko e toko lai tāai ka whimau ngā oe o kalani. Koe ngāhi ngā oe a ngā o ku out of Auckland, North Island and South Island. Ka koe hamea me mea e lawa kia Ellen, o nau tokoni ki e whiwholawaki. Ka pau ko of apply ka o ngā oe i Timaru, ko whea pia poti Musilani, tēnā o totonga o whea, te aluatu ki ai, ngā oe, wike tōpe, wike whā, tēnā o toi totonga o whoki mai koni siu ki o ngai whāme. Ko accommodation ko nofo anga, tēnā toi tokoni pia ke kumi a wheitu ke mo nofo ai. Pe ko hawhare, pe ko hawheleti, ka au maa, au pito, o whenuma pe moe whangi e ria toko si at ko ia, maa pito no whanga ai, ko ngahi mea nei, poinia na e ai hake he anga nei. Pa ko tui mahalo o ku mo mea mai pe, o ku mo toi tā a whiri, e o whukau e mama o pe he, ko hau ne fue mai whakamore. Ka koe e lawa kia Aaron ane nai. Tēnā o totonga airfares, tēnā o totonga me accommodation o whiuma na mo iwi. Koe nai, hoa ngā oe, o koko ngā oe hoa lalai. Koe o loa pongpongi ki hawhe tolo e whiawhi. Pea koe sifi e whiawhi, koe hawhe whā e whiawhi. Ke hawhe taha after midnight tua pō. Koe ki whaha ngā oe o tataha koe hoa e wā whā. Ai whare ngā oe anga. Pea whaka atu i au pito. Taimi ni ihi o ku whaiai pepa me ngā oe o taimi ki ngai ātoa naki. Ka o iai pepa e aho ke mō mā lo ai. Pike whā, tēnā te whakawhoki mai koe ki o kalanini ki o mō ngai whāmuri. Mā lo au ke tā, pa mō te whoka, te fua pe kau tāni. Koe e peki o mō mā wina. Mā lo pito mō me atua.
You know,
Cái